The NCAA tournament is off and running. We had two double-digit upsets. Can we see more today and throughout this weekend? We'll give you our predictions coming up. In baseball, the Cubs are 0-2 after being swept by the Dodgers in Tokyo, Japan. What does this mean for the rest of the season? We'll tell you about it coming up. The NBA, the Bulls, they continue to win to the much chagrin of their fan base. They defeated the Sacramento Kings on the road last night. What does this mean for the men in red going forward? We'll give you the details on that. We're 6 days away from Major League Baseball, and it's the return of our queen, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. That and a whole lot more. So hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports starts now. Welcome to another fun-filled hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're a lot that loaded, and we're live in 11 color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You know that this is me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to be a lamp, be a boot.
Toodles.
Shout out to the replay gang that's checking us out right now on the replay on Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube and Facebook pages. And shout out to the live gang that's checking us live in living color right now, also on our YouTube and Facebook pages. And don't forget our motto, whether we talk sports, music, or entertainment and more, we will will provide.
We'll provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got our girl Christine Manika from KXRB joining us today, making her appearance. We'll talk baseball. We'll talk football. A couple, her guy Joe Money Burrow got, his receivers got paid, so he'll be. If you saw his reaction on earlier this week, I know he's very happy about that. I'm sure she's happy about that. Also, we'll talk a little bit of So let's talk a little White Sox. And so much more, of course. We got sports media news and everything else in between. But first, Sid, of course, we got tourney action going on right now as we speak. We got a couple of games right here on the docket. One's at halftime. This is in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the East region. You got number 9 Baylor up 5, 37-32 over Mississippi State. Also, shout out to Play Spiro Dews. That game's on CBS. Shout out to Play Spiro Dews has a call of this game in Cleveland. It's on True TV. Cue the annual folks trying to find True TV in their cable.
320 on Xfinity Xfinity HD if you have Xfinity Comcast like I do.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So they're Alabama, number 2 seed, is also in the East region. They're up 39-31. Over number 15 seed Robert Morris College from the Horizon League. And another game that's about to tip off up in Milwaukee. You've got Lipscomb against Iowa State. That's going to come up next at 12:30. About 5-10 minutes from now. You can catch that game on TNT. And of course, Illinois. For those who are wondering, Illinois, they don't play till tonight. So they actually are the late game. At 8:45. That's gonna be on CBS against Xavier at number 6. Against Xavier. that should be an interesting matchup too. Of course, Xavier is very similar style to Illinois, so they're going to have a little bit of a tough time with them. But we'll see if Illinois can pull it out there. But first, let's go to some of the games from yesterday. And probably, I mean, I don't want to say this was an upset. I know some people say because of a 10 over a 7, but like I said, it's basically a 9 over an 8. It's basically the same thing. Arkansas beat Kansas 79-72. Not a big, like I said, I mean, this also, of course, it sets up for John Calaberry and Rick Pitino face each other. Of course, St. John's, took them a while, but they took care of business. This is the West region. They took care of business against Omaha. But all 5 stars were in double figures for, well, 4 of their 5 stars were double figures for Arkansas. Jonas Ado had 22 points. Janelle Davis, who's all SEC, he had 18 points. This is actually the earliest Kansas has been eliminated from the tournament since all the way back in 08. For those of you who, I know Kansas fans don't want to remember, that was back in the old Vooch, remember that shot that he hits in the first round of that game that Kansas fans are still smart over that one, but Sid, what did you think about that upset?
Oh, you're talking about 05, not 08, because remember 08, they reached the title game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, 05, those against Bucknell. Of course, Bill Self left Illinois to take that Kansas job, and the Illini Nation was happy over that, but I digress from that memory. Actually, that was 20 years ago this weekend, but I digress again. Here's the thing about the Arkansas game yesterday with Kentucky. We talked about both teams when we did our preview show this last past Sunday that both these teams were going in opposite directions. Arkansas were improving over the last few weeks. Kansas was heading in a downward spiral. It wasn't shocking if you take a step back and look at what the results were. It wasn't surprising. Of course, I picked Kansas out of spite because I'm not a Calipari fan, but they did earn the victory. I think that program is heading in the right direction. Now they get to face a real team in St. John's, Rick Pitino and R.J. Luis is a top candidate for National Player of the Year. So I think Arkansas, can they hang in with St. John's for a minute? I think they can, but I think St. John's is going to roll over them in that second half. I want to get to we'll get to the 2 upsets coming up in just a moment, but I want to get to the Michigan UC San Diego game from yesterday. That Donaldson point guard from Michigan, he had a couple of key 3-point shots yesterday. San Diego was right with them throughout the whole game. I thought that UC San Diego was going to pull out the upset. Every time you thought that Michigan was going to pull away, UC San Diego just came back with their run of their own. They just couldn't get those defensive stops, and they gave up to me offensive rebounds, especially in those final 2 minutes. So shout out to Michigan, shout out to UC San Diego. Michigan holds on to win that game to move on to the round of 32.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. That was one of the last games to finish up. You give UC San Diego credit. I mean, they stood right there. They could have been blown out, but they stuck right there. And Michigan always makes things interesting. So I know some people actually picked UC San Diego, probably without even knowing what came in their starting 5. But I digress. But that was an interesting matchup there for Michigan. So they were able to pull that out. Texas Tech, in the West region, they held on and they pulled away from UC Wilmington 82-78. And they had an and one, Darian Williams, of course, JD Topman, who is Obi's kid brother. They were both in double figures there for the Red Raiders. So they were able to pull that out as well. This was in the West region. Let's see here. Probably one of the bigger upsets. Now, this was also in the West region, keeping up with the theme here. Probably not a big upset considering how this team was played like Mizzou. I know our buddy Mike Berman from NBC Chicago. I know he was just beside himself after, but he probably.
I'm sure Josh Fryman too from WGN here in Chicago.
Yeah, he was trying to hold on, not his disappointment last night. We saw him with our buddy Peyton on GN Sports last night, but yeah, not a big surprise here. I mean, Drake. Look, this is the third straight year Drake's been into the tournament. It's not like a lot of these guys are have been there from the Bennett Sturridge. If you guys haven't heard of him, he was all Missouri Valley. He had 21 points. Tavion Banks had 15 off the bench for Drake. They just really couldn't get it to go. I'm talking about the Tigers. So unfortunately, that's what happened yesterday. I should say, was one of the earlier games. But yeah, that really wasn't a big shocker that Drake was able to upset Mizzou.
Yeah, to the people around the country it was, but to us too it was because we told you about Drake and those two players that you just mentioned that had big games yesterday. We saw them against Bradley in Missouri Valley Conference, both in the regular season and in the tournament final a few weeks ago. This is a very good Drake Bulldogs team. A quarter of their roster comes from Northwest Missouri State, so they used the transfer portal to their advantage, and those transfer kids also has done a wonderful job. But Drake is a very good shooting team and also a very good defensive team as well. You saw both those things on display yesterday. So Mizzou, we talked about them being right in the middle of the pack of the SEC, but when push came to shove, Drake made all the big plays yesterday.
We'll finish up the rest of the first rounders after the break, but a
Mhm.
couple more. Get these 9-8s out the way. Of course, first in the South region. This was the very first game up. Creighton, no trouble with Louisville. I think Louisville's youth. I think that kind of got to them in the end. I know Brad Presley had a technical foul.
Mhm.
So it was they kept it. They actually made it interesting. 14 points, but they were too big of a hole there. So. Again, experience definitely outdueled youth.
Mhm.
Same thing with Gonzaga over Georgia. Georgia, that's a very young Georgia squad. They'll be back. I mean, they've been battle tested, but like I said, the Gonzaga, a lot of those guys have played in the tournament before. So again, this is where experience kind of just trounced youth. And in both these cases, this was in the
Uh,
Midwest region, the Gonzaga over Georgia.
Going back to that Creighton Louisville game yesterday, whoever threw, I know at that technical foul you mentioned with the Louisville head coach, whoever threw that water bottle on the field, I hope their asses were thrown out of the game because that was uncalled for. You can get upset, boo and yell without yelling extreme extremities, racist slurs or anything like that. But whenever an object is thrown on the field or on the court, that's uncalled for. You should be thrown out right away. I hope that fan was thrown out. That was uncalled for. You can get upset at a bad call, but throwing things on the field or on the court is just uncalled for. Period, hands down. Now back to the actual game. Creighton dominated from start to finish. We talked about them losing to St. John's in the Big East tournament a week ago or so, but they are a very good team. They're a very good shooting team, and they were hot, especially from 3-point land yesterday. You mentioned give the Cardinal credit. I know there was technically a home game for them, so they had their fans backing them up, but the Creighton was dominant from start to finish. And when you have hot shooting like that, it can carry a long way in this tournament.
Yeah, I was surprised that many people were afraid that the Louisville fans were going to show up. So, go figure with that one. But yeah, that's about as most red I've seen, at Rupp Arena, and since so they don't play that game anymore, unfortunately. So that's probably the
Right.
most you've seen at that arena in a long time. But I digress. But we're gonna take a really quick break. Of course, we'll recap the rest of yesterday's action, and also too, we'll give you a little preview of tomorrow's action as well. Of course, there's some, like I said, including the Illini. Could they be primed for an upset? We'll see. Coming up next. Of course, we'll talk some NBA as well, time permitting, in the first hour. The Bulls. Well, we won't throw our hats like our buddy Matt Peck did over at CHGO, but but I know some Bulls fans probably feel the way he feels about it right now. We'll talk about it. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney, Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. More hardwood talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the hashtag Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded in real live and in living color right here on Sports So Chicago, along with Miss McGee, which is she. I ain't Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, execute again IG.
To continue with our March Madness discussion and possibly the Bulls and NBA to wrap up our number one, if you want to discuss those topics during this segment, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you.
Staying with the tournament, from yesterday, UCLA no trouble with this is a Midwest region. UCLA no trouble with Utah State, 47-72. 72-47, and it was basically all UCLA again. Utah State had not been playing well lately. UCLA's been up and down the last few weeks, but it was definitely basically all UCLA from drop. They imposed it real early, and Mick Cronin has his guys getting out at the right time.
Yeah, we know Mick Cronin tells it like it is. That's what I like about him. He's a very intense coach. He keeps it real. He's the poor man's Charles Barkley in terms of head coaches in college basketball. He has his kids, as you mentioned, playing very consistently right now. And we said during our preview show last Sunday night that their seeding with Illinois should have been flipped. And you saw why yesterday. We'll see what Illinois does tonight. We'll give you that preview of that game coming up. But with Utah State, I really didn't know much about them, but they really got caught off their heels, and UCLA was dominant for the most part. And so we'll see what the Bruins can do in the next round.
Back to the East region we go. BYU held off VCU in the battle of the abbreviations, as I call this matchup. It was close for a little bit, but just too much size up front for BYU. There, Igor Dimon had 15 points, while Richie Saunders had 16. And, they were able to kind of, impose it early. The defensive rebounds, 26 for BYU and only 19. So, yeah, that was basically a big difference in that game.
Yeah, the old saying, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. Of course, BYU, we said it last week that this was going to be a contrast in styles. Of course, BYU style won, but I thought Virginia Tech would truly dominate with their physical play, especially what we saw last Sunday afternoon in the Atlantic 10 championship game against George Mason. BYU established their tempo early and reestablished it in that second half. VCU, I thought, was trying to play BYU's game. Yeah, I know that you got to outscore your opponent to win, but That's not VCU style to run up and down the court and chuck up shots. Even though they could do that, but that's not really their style. So BYU, I thought took control late in that second half, and VCU couldn't do nothing to keep up.
I agree. Staying in the Midwest region, on the other side of that region, Clemson, had a furious comeback. They were down 18 at the half, but McGee State, they were able to hold on. Incidentally, though, Will Wade, their coach, has the rumors are he's going to be the next head coach over at NC State, but apparently he hasn't signed his contract yet. So, his players told him that, look, coach, you're not leaving us just yet. And they were to hold on late. This after Clemson actually made a layup that got it down to 2, but it wasn't enough. But, look, a 12-5er, and look, we always get at least one. So that this is the one for at least so far this year. But, yeah, no one really should be surprised. Like I said, Clemson, they've been, kind of up and down lately. They've been quietly, but, they didn't do too well in the AC tournament. And McGee, with their veterans squad, were able to catch them off guard.
I forgot the players now. I believe his last name was Taylor from McNeese. He was interviewed at halftime, and the courtside reporter asked him, "How do you guys feel?" He said, "Yeah, we feel good right now, but we know that the second half is 0-0, and you knew that Clemson was going to come out and give it their best effort, especially after scoring in the teens in that first half. If you would have told me that was going to happen, I would say you've been smoking crack. But this is a beauty about sports that we usually see something we haven't seen before play out right in front of our eyes. This is not scripted, so you have to sit by and watch. But I thought that McNeese State played with some poise in that first half. They kept putting the pedal to the metal in that first half. In that second half, you knew that Clemson was going to make it run, which they did. But McNeese State, they almost gave it away, but they did just barely enough to hang on with their victory. Congratulations to that school.
I think that was Cordero Copeland who was you were talking about there. I think I heard something. He does major communication, so he does want to do television one day. He had a nice little audition for that one. But yeah, I'm sure Will Wade kind of got him focused. He could tell like they were missing shots, they were forcing it. Clemson there where they tried to come places. Like I said, there was just too big of a hole for him to dig out of. So McNeese were able to hang on. Now in the South region, A&M, I know Yale, I think that was a trending pick for some people too, but A&M, their defense, Buzz Williams, too much for them. 25 points for Farrell Payne off the bench for the Aggies. As this is the first time, and Wade Taylor had the fourth had 16 in their first round win in a while for the Aggies.
Yeah, congratulations to Aggies. I had a chance to catch at least a couple of highlights from this game. Excuse me. You could tell that Yale really couldn't get their tempo going. Texas A&M, since that they took advantage of that, played it at their pace, and it cruised out to a 9-point win. I want to go to the next game in that Midwest region with Purdue and High Point. I know Purdue ended up winning by 12, but give High Point credit. I know that this was a popular upset trendy pick too. High Point was in it for a while, but Matt Painter and his guys with the Boilermakers, they made some big shots down the stretch, as we talked about the two all season long, including on our previous show last week. Rebounding is definitely going to be key, especially offensive rebounds. Purdue got those at the last stages of the game, and High Point unfortunately just ran out of gas. But up until the last 2 or 3 minutes, High Point was hanging with Purdue all the way. Every time you thought the Boilermakers were starting to pull further away, here comes High Point. As we said before, especially in this era of college basketball, just about not every team, but just these so-called mid-major teams, they're just about even with some of these middle-of-the-road Power 5 conference teams. So don't be surprised if you see some more upsets today and throughout this tournament. But give High Point credit. They pushed Purdue to the limit. Purdue made some big plays down the stretch to hang on to a 12-point win. This was not a dominant performance by Purdue.
No, even though it kind of looked that way. Braden Smith had a couple of big threes to kind of help seal the winning. You'll get a couple of daggers in there for the Boilermakers. So, but yeah, I'm sure Matt Painter's guys were not happy that I'm sure they saw that a lot of folks were probably picking High Point. Again, they probably can't even name 5 players on that squad, but again, I digress. But look, a nice effort from High Point, their first tournament appearance. So they could definitely leave their heads held high there. Now going into the East region, Wisconsin and Montana. Wisconsin took care of business to their credit, 85-66. And I think look, Wisconsin. John Blackwell had 19 points leading the way there. Excuse me. John Tunji had 15, but there were 7 for 23 from 3-point range. Let's talk about Wisconsin. This is a team that depends on the three a lot, probably a little bit more than that Iowa liked, but they're gonna have to. They didn't really need it against Montana. They were able to, take advantage of that, with their bigger size. But that they're gonna have to warm up to that 3-point range if they want to advance further into the tournament.
Yeah, sometimes when you're a good team, sometimes you may play down to your competition, and then sometimes when one strength of your team is not going well, you got to find other areas to improve and to win games. Sometimes you got to win games not playing at your best. So that's what happened to Wisconsin yesterday. As I mentioned before, the Wisconsin, the way they played, they're the big brother to the little brother of the Fine Illini. They shoot the 3-ball more consistently than the Illini, and like you said, that 3-point share has to improve if they're going to advance in this tournament. They could score with anybody in the country, and they can also tighten it up defensively, especially from the perimeter as well. So they did that part, but like you said, the 3-point shooting has to improve if they want to go on in this tournament.
All right, going to the West. Back to the West region we go. St. John's gets their first tournament win since all the way back to 2000. Of course, right at the turn of the century. Yes, it's been that long, folks. Arthur Louise, he tied St. John's turn record for the most 3-pointers in the game with 5. It was close for a little bit. They were only up by 5, but they turned it on in the second half, and now they advance into the second round in the West.
Yeah, so it's going to be St. John's in Arkansas tomorrow. I cannot wait for that one. I know one of their big guys from St. John's turned his ankle, and so he did not play the rest of the game. Hopefully he's going to be okay to go tomorrow. We'll see about that. But this is what happens when you're one of the favorites to win the title. You take care of business against a lesser opponent, and St. John's were dominant from start to finish.
Back to the Midwest region as Tennessee, quiet. I don't think no one really talking about Tennessee in that region. And I'm sure Rick Barnes and his guys actually like it that way. They took care of Wofford 77-62. Chastanet had a game by 29 points there. It was, like I said, it was basically all Tennessee, even though it didn't look like from the stats wise, but Tennessee, look, they took care of business. They did what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, just like we talked about with St. John's, when you know that you're better than your opponent across from you, you take care of business. That's what Tennessee did. We all know that Tennessee likes to score from the outside, and also, too, they like to control the tempo on the inside, too, with their inside scoring and rebounding. So you saw that all three phases of the game from the Volunteers yesterday. So we mentioned Rick Barnes looking at that bracket. He could have potentially, in air quotes, an easy road to at least the Elite 8.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting there. We'll see what happens now. Finishing up here with the 2 number 1 seeds, of course, number 1 overall seed, Houston. In the Midwest, no trouble with SIU Edwardsville. They'll do what you're supposed to against the number 1 seed, beating them by 38 points. In the South region, Auburn had a little bit of trouble with Alabama State early on. Of course, Alabama State had that great Hail Mary pass in their game to beat on Tuesday. Again, very nicely, a great call by our buddy Espero Diaz there for True TV. But Auburn turned on the second half and they beat them by 20. But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting matchup in the second round there in that South region.
Yeah, Auburn, you mentioned, did get us a brief scare in that first half. I thought they were trying to get it going. I'm not going to sit here and say they were playing down to that competition. Give Alabama State credit, but you saw the real Auburn Tigers in that second half, especially with Joni Broom, one of the top players in the country, and also to Denver Jones. I like him. He controls the point for the Auburn Tigers. So you saw the real Auburn Tigers in that second half. They pulled away to win by 20.
Yeah, they play Gonzaga. No, they play Creighton in the second round. That should be an interesting matchup there. While Houston
get your track sheets ready.
While Houston plays Gonzaga in the second round tomorrow, so that should be both should be good matchups there. Now, real quick, going into today's action, of course, you got coming up there in the second half. They're under 12 timeouts in the East region. You got Baylor up 7 against Mississippi State. And Alabama get a little bit of scare from Robert Morris at the half. Again, just when you thought that maybe Alabama would get it going, but look, Robert Morris, their credit. I mean, they're hanging in there so far.
Yeah, just like we talked about with Auburn just a second ago, we'll see if Alabama can establish their tempo in the second half to pull away from Robert Morris. But in these early round games, you have neutral fans, casual fans sitting in that stadium. If in this case, if Robert Morris is within striking distance at 10 points or less, the crowd's going to get behind Robert Morris. That momentum is a strange and powerful thing, especially in college basketball. And if that happens, I think obviously Alabama's in trouble. But it's going to be key to see the first 5 to 7 minutes of the start of the second half. If Alabama can establish tempo and pull away, this game should be over by midway through the second half.
In the South region, this game's on TNT right now. They just tipped off, but Iowa State up 4 against Lipscomb. So that's going to be that's in the South region. So that'll be interesting to match up to look out for there. Now it's the later matchups in the West region. In Seattle, you got Memphis and Colorado State. Now it looks like Memphis will get a lot of their guys back. So Colorado State, Nick Clifford. Again, we told you about him on Sunday, so that could be a name that you might be hearing a lot in a little bit here. In about 10 minutes, they're about to tip off, so should be a fun matchup between those two squads.
Yeah, and watch out for PJ Haggerty and Dane Danger, the former Illini standout now with the Memphis Tigers. Dane Danger, in my opinion, has established tempo from the rebounding department. We all know that he can give you some buckets offensively, but PJ Haggerty, he's going to carry the offensive load for the Memphis Tigers, and hopefully Penny Hardaway is giving them that message all week. So this should be a very good, underrated but very good game.
In the East region, after that Baylor Mississippi State game, we got number 1 Duke and Mount St. Mary's. Of course, Mount St. Mary's, they won their first 4 matchup. Cooper Flag will play, and it won't be no mix restrictions, so I guess he's going to be good to go. And look, the fact that Duke won the AC tournament without him and Malik Hunter. I don't think Malik Hunter's going to play today, but I think Duke. I think look. John Shire. Look, he has a national champion if he knows what it takes to go all the way. So we'll see if Duke can take care. I'm sure Duke should be able to take care of business against Mount St. Mary's.
Yeah, like I said, wishing Cooper Flag the best, and I don't wish nobody to get injured, but I would not have played him today. I know I saw him when we were on a commercial break on my monitor that he got off the bus. And it looked like he was okay walking off the bus, but I would not have played him today. I would have saved him for Sunday because, like you mentioned, we saw Duke's role players, especially Tyrese Proctor, their starting program. I really like him a lot. They took care of business in the ACC tournament. I would have sat Cooper Flag again today and to get him ready for Sunday, but you said no minutes restrictions. We'll see about that, how he starts off in that first half. If he doesn't look good or something really fishy about that, I'm sure at that 15 or 14 minute mark, John Shire is going to take him out and set him for a while. So we'll see how Cooper Flag starts out the first 5-6 minutes of this game.
Could be interesting to see. I think if they get to a big lead early against Mount St. Mary's, you may not see him that much. So I guess it's really going to depend on how the game goes. So we'll see there. Now, after that Robert Morris Alabama game, which is about to kick off the second half, St. Mary's and Vanderbilt, that should be a fun one after that game at Rocket Arena in Cleveland. That's going to be after that game. North Carolina just hammered San Diego State in their first 4 game. They face Ole Miss in Milwaukee. That should be a fun one there in the South region. By the way, the Vandy St. Mary's is in the East region. Grand Canyon and Maryland, that's going to be the second game in Seattle. That should be a fun matchup there. Of course, Grand Canyon pulled off the upset last year. We'll see if they can do it. Bryce Drew and his guys. Of course, we know Bryce Drew has pulled off some upsets before in the tournament. If he, way back
1998, Valpo versus Ole Miss.
Yes, the anniversary of that game just passed a couple days ago. So he knows what it takes. So we'll see if Grand Canyon can pull off some magic again. Number 1, Florida in the West region. They face Norfolk State in Raleigh. These are the night games. Kentucky in the Midwest region against Troy in Milwaukee. Marquette in New Mexico and Cleveland. That should be a fun matchup there. Arizona and Akron in Seattle. That's in the East region. Good one here between Porter Moses, Oklahoma Sooners, and the two-time defending champs UConn in Raleigh. That's in the West region. Illinois and Xavier in the Midwest region. That's going to be the Milwaukee. That's going to be on CBS. Michigan State and Bryant in Cleveland. That's going to be the nightcap there. And the last game in Seattle, you got Oregon and number 12 Liberty in the East region. So there should be some fun matchups coming up, Sid.
Yeah, I know Liberty is a sneaky, trendy pick as another 12-5 upset over Oregon. As we said on our Selection Sunday show last Sunday, that if you can, if Liberty, they hold their opponents at 63 points a game this year. If you get to 70 or above, you're guaranteed to win. But Liberty's a very good team. I know Dana Altman, the head coach of the Ducks, they've been doing well. They did well in their very first year in the Big Ten. So it's definitely two contrasting styles here. If Liberty can stay with their defensive game plan, I think that they'll have a very good shot. I did pick Oregon to win, so we'll see what happens with that. Now, going back to the Illinois Xavier game, I told you I wanted Texas, but that didn't happen. But for Illinois, take the game plan they had against Ohio State about a month and a half ago in Champaign. When your 3-point shots are not falling, drive to the basket and draw fouls. Will Riley, give him the rock, let him create. Ivicevic, let him create as well. There should be a top 2 options on offense. And then, of course, Yakochonis should be your third option. But I like Colin Boswell, who runs the point for Illinois. Let him get involved in the offense as well. So be more aggressive. That's what I would tell if I was the head coach. Be more aggressive if you're Illinois. If your 3-point shots are not falling, be aggressive. Take the ball to the basket. And defensively, do not give up offensive rebounds. And Morris Johnson Jr., who was limited minutes-wise in the Big Ten tournament, he's going to have a big game for the Illini coming off the bench.
Well, Zach Fremantle, this is his 7th year over at Xavier. He hasn't played in the tournament since his freshman year back in 2019. And look, he wants to make the best of it. So look, he led that great comeback that they had, Xavier had against Texas. So look, Xavier's balance as they played in the Big East. They played with St. John's and Creighton and UConn, so they know what it takes to win. So I'm just saying, I know people wanted Texas because it was an easier matchup, but Xavier's a very veteran latent squad. So look, Illinois, they better not take them lightly. So we'll see what happens in that matchup. As the Second City Sports on Sports Social, LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you here. We're going to talk some NBA real quick. And short of our buddy Matt Peck from CHGO Bulls throwing hats and going on a tangent here. They're now, as of right now, the Bulls are the 9th seed right now. And of course, they beat Zach, DeMar, and the Kings there. And they lost to Phoenix, a couple of days before on Wednesday, but they were 1-1 in their on that West Coast trip so far. Of course, 1-2 if you count that loss to Houston. 35 points for Coby White in that game, and I mean, what more can you say about the Bulls? Look, there's really you can't tell the players to tank; they're not going to do that. So, but this is what you get for being an NBA purgatory, I guess.
Yeah, I like the way that Coby White's been playing. We mentioned he's been having a bad year in terms of staying healthy, but ever since he's returned, he's been putting up great numbers. You mentioned 35 points again last night, including 2 for 5 shooting from 3-point range, 10 of 18 overall. So he's been playing well. I like the way Zach Collins is playing. Will management bring him back for next year? I don't know. He's on an expiring contract. Patrick Williams, 7 points and a rebound. I know he is what he is at his point, so I'm not going to lose my mind over him. So he's just an average player at this point. Nikolai Vucevic, is nice to see him back healthy. He gave you 24 points and 14 rebounds last night, so that's key. So, and Kevin Huerter in his revenge game, 5 3-pointers last night, 5 for 9 overall from downtown. He had 29 points, 25 points, I should say. As you mentioned, the Bulls beat the Kings. Zach LaVine only 8 points. What happened?
Yeah, I know, right? I was a little bit surprised. I mean, he gave the jersey to one of the trainers after the game that it helped him through his injury last year. So that was a nice sentiment from Zach there with that one. But it was just like, oh gosh, okay, here we go. So so it's I mean, the Bulls are, as the late great Diddy Green would say, they are who you thought they were. They face the Lakers tomorrow. We'll see if Luka plays. I know Luka didn't play last night, so that's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that matchup. But the Bulls are you just gotta take what you can get with the Bulls. Now, speaking of Lakers, real quick, of course, Luka didn't play last night. People thought it was gonna be a Dalton Connect legacy game. That didn't happen. He only had 17 points, and they got their butts kicked by the Bucks. 28 points for Giannis. Draymond Green once again led the Warriors in scoring, but Steph didn't have his best shooting night, but they didn't really need to. Of course, they were to hold on against the Raptors. Indiana needed overtime, but they beat the Pacers, and a little bit of an upset. You got the Hornets beating the Knicks. I'm sure Tibbs wasn't happy about that.
Well, you can't blame Jalen Brunson because he's injured right now. So, and I don't know if the Knicks took the Hornets lightly, but the Hornets got them by the backside and then some last night. So, I know there's some rumblings that Tibbs may be out of there by season's end. If they don't get past the second round, we'll see what happens with that. Going back to the Lakers game last night, LeBron James didn't play, and also Reeves didn't play. 6 days from now, hopefully LeBron James will be playing in Chicago against the Bulls. He likes to show up and show out in Mike's house at the UC. So if he doesn't play next Thursday, something's wrong. But I digress. But speaking of LeBron James, his son Bronny had 17 points last night. LeBron James was good on that bench celebrating his son. So congratulations to Bronny James. It was his most productive game in the season. And Steph Curry took a big tumble last night. Hopefully he's okay. I don't know if he's going to play in their next game tomorrow. We'll see what happens with that. But as you mentioned, Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler carried today as the Warriors beat the Raptors by 3.
Real quick, the Lakers over Denver. Luka had 31 there, so a nice performance. The Pelicans beat Minnesota. The Clippers beat Cleveland. Kawhi had 33 points. That's the best Kawhi I've seen, all season long. So maybe they're turning the quarter. Perhaps the Clippers are. So we'll see. And Phoenix, of course, had no trouble with Toronto. They can sneak in to get with that last play-in spot since Dallas hasn't been playing very well lately. So we'll see.
Yeah, as we talked about with Dallas, so this was the important 2 or 3 weeks of their season. And if they're going on a losing streak, you do not bring Anthony Davis back, even if he's healthy. So you have to put on this year and wait till next year. But as far as they play in tournament in the Western Conference, the Clippers are starting to play well. As you mentioned, Phoenix is still in the mix. I know Sacramento has struggled here a bit. So in Minnesota, they got to keep winning too if they want to stay out that 7th spot.
Yeah, they'll hopefully not have to, be playing that play-in. So real quick with this weekend's games, tonight's games, we'll do this real super fast. Orlando and Washington. The first game of the NBA TV doubleheader, of course, ESPN has a women's tournament on, so of course no Friday night doubleheader for them. But NBA TV, you got Houston, Miami. Speaking of Minnesota, they face New Orleans. No, I'm not repeating myself. They play again tonight. Charlotte and OKC at 7. Philadelphia, San Antonio, Detroit. Speaking of Dallas, they host Detroit. Detroit had a nice week this week. Boston, continues their West Coast trip. They face Utah. Cleveland and Phoenix. That should be a fun one there. We'll see what mood Cleveland's in after losing to the Clippers earlier this week. Denver and Portland. And the second game of the NBA TV doubleheader, you got Memphis and the Clippers.
Yes. Schedule for the NBA TV doubleheader will feature Golden State and Atlanta. Steph Curry will be questionable for that one. We'll see if he plays or not. Washington visits New York to take on the Knicks. Milwaukee will face Sacramento in the second game of that Saturday night NBA TV doubleheader. And as you mentioned earlier, the Bulls will face the Los Angeles Lakers, formerly known as Staples Center.
And Sunday's matchups goes like this. You got New Orleans and Detroit. You got Cleveland and Utah. No, I'm not repeating myself again. Well, they continue their West Coast trip. Hopefully have a better showing tonight and Sunday. Philadelphia and Atlanta. Charlotte and Miami. San Antonio will go up north. They face Toronto. Boston continues their West Coast swing in Portland, Denver, and Houston. And the lone NBA TV could be interesting. You got OKC and the Clippers.
All right, and that's your schedule for the NBA for this weekend. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports # Friday Fun continues with the turn of Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2, the hashtag Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked in, loaded, and we're live in the 11 color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I ain't City Bright. You know that this is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
As we kick off hour number 2 with our regular co-host of third wheel of the program, Miss Christine the Queen Manika. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Let's get our weekend girl here. Let's not waste any time. She is from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's the one, the only Miss Christine the Queen Manika. What's up, Christine?
Hello.
Yay!
Happy Friday.
Back at you. How are you?
Happy Friday to you. How are you?
Oh, busy, but we love it. It's madness.
How fitting, of course. Yeah, let's talk about that first. Do you have brackets? What teams do you have going to the Final Four here? We'll start with the men. We'll start with the men's first.
Yeah, so I believe the last time I checked the Final Four I have is Alabama. I know that I have Alabama winning it, and I think Florida and Alabama are my top 2. I know that I picked BYU to win the tournament for this first round, and then I had Drake winning too. So those were my 2 big wins that I got last night. Unfortunately, Clemson and Kansas let me down, but that's okay.
That's all right. I think those are two of the teams you mentioned were
What about the women? Yeah,
pretty trendy. So yeah, it's fine.
For the
yeah. What about your winner on the women's side? Of course,
yeah.
Yeah, for the women's side, we know that South Carolina is a trendy pick. Of course, you got UConn, UCLA, and USC with my girl Juju Watkins. They're making some noise as well. This women's field is open for the first time in the last few years. So, who did you pick to win it all from the women's side?
My final two was UConn and Notre Dame, and I picked Notre Dame.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I saw some people pick Notre Dame. It's don't laugh about that. I mean,
Exactly. They're number three, and this is the clossest they have a chance to win since the last coach retired. So
yeah.
I think they have a chance.
Yeah, they might. Look, like I said, look, we said that the women's side is pretty wide open for the most part. So yeah, you look, you never know. So we'll see. But I'm just glad that some of the games will be on ABC. You get to see Juju Watkins and Paige Beckers on ABC tomorrow.
Mhm.
That's look, that's a good smart move by ABC to put those games on Saturday so that on ABC so that people will be able to watch them. So that was a very smart programming move from ABC there.
All right, let's transition over to baseball. Of course, we're 6 days away from the real opening day, including on the south side with the White Sox and your husband's team, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. It looks like it's going to be 55 degrees and sunny for next Thursday, so yours surely will be there. So hopefully the Sox will do better than they did last year, losing 1-0 to the Tigers. But I digress from that. But did you catch any of the Cubs Dodgers Tokyo Series games that started at 5 in the morning this past Tuesday and Wednesday?
I'm up, believe it or not, at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I caught a good portion of it. It's hard to kind of watch the game and, do the show at the same time. So I watched the portion of it, and the Dodgers, they are a powerhouse. There's a reason why they're champions. And Shohei Ohtani put on a show, no pun intended there. And I think it set out a statement for the start of baseball season. Going back to the White Sox, I mean, the weather is probably the only bright spot for the home game next Thursday. Yeah, there's Derrick Rose Day because that's how they can get everybody to the ballpark is Mr. Chicago, Derrick Rose.
Yep.
But then after this series with the Angels, we're going to get smacked for the next 4 or 5 weeks between the Twins, the Tigers, the Guardians. I mean, we could be easily 2-13 by the time end of April comes around.
Well, what do you think about Sean Burke getting the nod for that opening day?
Someone's got to do it. That's my opinion. Someone's got to do it and take one for the team right off the bat.
If you saw the video on social media, which I thought was a very cool video, Sean Burke was kind of shocked, like me? Okay. Will Venable, I think he'll be better than Will Venable, the first year manager of the White Sox. I think he's the perfect fit for this team. Even though we're not predicting the playoffs for them this year, he's a much better fit than Pedro Grifol ever was. Pedro was in over his head, but I think the White Sox are better just because you had Will Venable at the manager helm. But not to bring it down a notch, but sure, if you guys didn't see this on social media, we all know
Bobby
that
Jenks.
of course, Bobby Jenks. Yeah, he's in a quote unquote final stages of his stomach cancer. Now he has to charge autographs just to pay his medical bills. And someone put this out on X the other day.
Yeah,
where's the White Sox in this? Hopefully they're doing something behind the scenes. Hopefully, but if not, where's the White Sox? Where's the Players Association in this to help him with his medical bills? Something is very off with this. Like I said, we wishing Bobby Jenks the best here on Sports on Chicago and Second City Sports. But if he's not getting any additional help and he has to charge autographs for him just to pay his medical bills, call me crazy. I'm not being insensitive here, but something's wrong with that. Thoughts?
Well, yeah, and I think he said it best. He did an interview with MLB.com in January, how he explained that, yes, this is a horrible illness that he's battling. On top of that, he also lost his home in the Palisades fires out in California. And he put it best himself that he was not the healthiest in his 20s and in his early 30s. And in his words, it eventually caught up to him. And unfortunately, probably with those decisions, you can only imagine the financial costs behind those decisions and choices. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And if anything, it highlights those issues that some athletes, some major athletes do have. Some of them can't control whatever habit they're going through, and they are spending a lot of money. And I think Bobby Jenks, with what's happening to him, is, like I said, a great example of that. Of course, your heart goes out to him because that's just awful that you're battling stage 4 stomach cancer like that. But you have to wonder if there's any help within the organization going on behind closed doors. And I would guess, I'm sure some other players have stepped up behind the scenes that we don't know about. I would hope anyway, but I think it's a lesson to any young athletes out there who are making major decisions for the first time or have so much money in their possession that they don't know what to do with it. I think Bobby Jenks is an example of what could happen if you decide to use your off time and just spend money in not the smartest ways. That's just my thoughts on it.
I feel like he's definitely a cautionary tale, if you will. And look, one thing you gotta love about Jenks is that he's very transparent. He will tell
Yeah.
you, he'll always tell you what he thinks. He'll tell us like it is. And look, he said, look, I didn't make the best decisions when I was playing. So, you kind of wonder that if anything else, this could kind of like be a cautionary tale for any young athlete out there. And you hope that, that Jerry Reinsdorf and the ownership group, Justin Sheba, who could be the new owner, you got to hope that maybe one or both of them are perhaps helping him with his medical bills, because the fact that he had to go overseas and like you said, Christine, lost his
Right.
house earlier this year. It's just like, it's one thing after another for Jenks, and you hope that nothing but the best for him. And hopefully, look, he's getting the financial help that he needs, because cancer treatments are very expensive. So hopefully he's getting assistance from some of his former teammates too.
And not to mention, when you talk about him being so open, I remember the game that I was at, and he was going to be the closer, but he didn't end up performing that game because he was dealing with kidney stones. So he literally was, leaving the field, having to go through those issues. So yeah, he's been pretty open for the most part about health issues. And I think now that his cancer has progressed, I think it's just I think he's using this as a platform to make lessons out of it for younger athletes or anybody that has that amount of money in general.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. I'm Sid. That's Christine. It's LaKeena. A quick update for the NCAA tournament. Day 2, Alabama leads Robert Morris 56-52, 10-53 to go in the second half. Iowa State up on Linsco by 16-40, 24 at the half. Baylor 69, Mississippi State 64, and just underway. Memphis trails now just tied Colorado State at 15, 12-22 and counting left to go in the first half of that game. Christine, let's transition over to football. Aaron Rodgers was in the Minnesota Vikings. Looks like it's not NOT, not going to be in match as of this live broadcast. Aaron Rodgers is visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers organization in their facilities today. Of course, the New York Giants are in the mix. I still say that Aaron Rodgers should retire, but it looks like he may play 1 or 2 more years. Thoughts are Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers a perfect match?
Yeah, it's so funny that you bring up Minnesota, because we heard at the beginning of the week that it's not happening. Like, that relationship is not moving forward, which is good for the Vikings organization, I think, and for us as Bears fans. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers on the other side of that field in an NFC North Division team. I don't want to see that, even though he's not where he used to be. He would always ball out against the Bears because, he quote unquote owns the Bears. So I am personally happy that the Vikings did not go that route, and the partnership, that relationship is not moving forward. when it comes to the Steelers, I can't see Tomlinson wanting to coach Aaron Rodgers just because I think personalities would 100% clash. When he was, coaching Russell Wilson, I think he humbled Wilson a little bit just because he was kind of his ego got the best of him in Denver and then coming to Pittsburgh. I think he got humbled after being benched for a couple of weeks for whatever the reason was. And with the Giants, it's it's just very crumbled right now in that organization. So I don't know if you would want to stay
Mhm.
in another dysfunctional organization after basically coming out of another one. So it's a toss up. I could honestly see him probably going a different direction away from the East Coast. But I guess if he wants the lesser of two evils, and if he still wants to win another championship before he does hang it up, then
Mhm.
the Pittsburgh would be the answer for that. And I guess him and Tomlinson will just have to deal with their different views and egos in their own right.
I'm kind of betting that okay, should he sign with the Steelers? I think I can't see him and Tomlin getting along for an entire season.
Right.
There's gonna be clashes. There's gonna be fights. I just don't see. I just don't honestly don't see it like it happening. But again, the Giants. Maybe. But again, they're nowhere close to winning. So why, if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you want to go there? So it's going to be interesting. Though the Minnesota thing is still intriguing. I know Diana Ricci said that they're leaving the door open. The Vikings are a little bit, but they're going with JJ McCarthy right now. They want to see how he does, and, in the
Yep.
spring, going into OTAs and stuff like that. So I think if you're Roger, do you want to try to wait and see? Because look, in the season, things happen. Things, guys, aren't productive and blah blah blah. So I don't know, but they could. Flacco's still out there. I don't think Flacco has signed with anybody yet. So maybe
No.
Flacco might. Well, Flacco might be the best route. He might be. He might be cheaper. So you
Right.
never know. You never know.
Yeah, with
I would,
Flacco, you can wait until somebody. Go ahead, Christine.
I was gonna say I would love Flacco on the Vikings, but I would hate that at the same time.
Yeah. And speaking of the Vikings, we bring up another quarterback who's a free agent out there, Russell Wilson. Of course, he's not going to return to Pittsburgh. The New York Giants is still an option. Cleveland, if you want to believe it or not, is an option. Should the Minnesota Vikings consider Russell Wilson an option?
I think that would work out well. I think after his time with Tomlin, I think he would be an asset to the Vikings, especially having a intriguing receiver like Justin Jefferson as a target, and all the other young talent that they're forming out there in Minnesota right now. I think that would be an ideal spot.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, look, you got Hawkinson.
Hawkinson.
They just traded for Addison. So yeah, that might be something that might intrigue Russell Wilson. But again, look, I think Minnesota knows that they're going to have to sign a veteran in case McCarthy has a setback or whatever, or struggles. Because I'm sure they're in win now mode. So we'll see what happens with them.
Right.
Now speaking of with the theme here and going to Cincy, your guy Joe Burrow got two of they got two of his top targets got money, as both Jamar Chase and T Higgins got new contracts. Chase is 4 years, $161 million extension. T Higgins, if I can get it going here, I think it's like 113 or something like that with or 15 or something like that. He got 30 million. Chase got 40 million guaranteed. What do you think?
I think it's good that they got it done now as opposed to, weeks before the season starts, because I think was part of the problems with Cincy this past season. And I liked on social media how they showed Burrow there supporting T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, the video of the brotherhood they got going on. So there's definitely some love there. And I think they're all happy at this point that Cincy forked out the money and they got it done.
We're heading down the home stretch with our good friend, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, the third wheel of the program, our weekend girl, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with you. Excuse me, Christine. We had this as a topic, me and LaKeena, on Monday. Of course, this is, in my opinion, the best time of the year as a sports fan. You got March Madness starting, baseball starting next week. We heading down the home stretches in hockey and in basketball. And I gave my top 5 days as a sports fan, of course. Number 1 is, for me, is the first 2 days of March Madness. You got games going on from late morning till late at night. And, of course, the opening of baseball season, number 2 for me. And number 3 was the opening first Sunday of the NFL season, followed by the first day of NBA basketball and hockey after that. What is your top favorite day for you as a sports fan?
You want me to list top 3 or top 5?
Whichever.
Whichever? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, 3 or
I
5,
think
we don't.
in
It
no
doesn't matter.
particular order has to be the start of NFL. I would say opening day for baseball. I would also put in there the Masters. There's nothing like it in golf, and just the fandom and the history behind it. It's a very exciting time when that comes around. And then there's also I'm a I'm I like basketball season. Like, I like the start of basketball, and then the Bulls, continue on in that season, and then you slowly lose interest. You know how it goes. You just lose hope a little bit. And then I'm also when the year rolls around, depending on what the year is, the Ryder Cup, the Olympics. I love just those big team events, and the Olympics has to be up there for me.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I like that list. That's not a bad list there. I think mine was the first days of the tournament, the opening week of the NFL, opening week of college football, week 0, opening day, and what I forgot. I don't think I had a 5. I think I only had 3. But I think if to finish up, I guess the Masters, they're already showing Masters promos
Yeah.
right now, and if they showed the menu for the defending champ Scotty Scheffler.
It's so good.
Delicious stuff like firecracker shrimp and blackened fish and stuff like that. But yeah, I think those are like my some of my top sports openings, if you will, for like seasons or whatever.
All right, Christine, last question for me. Of course, we said it last week and 2 weeks ago when you were on here, and we'll say it again. Congratulations to you and your handsome husband, Mr. Chris Gilman, on your guys' 1-year anniversary of marriage. One down, many more years ahead of you guys. What did you guys do to celebrate the 1-year anniversary?
What do we do? So on Friday night, we just kind of stayed in, had a pizza. I got a facial, my first facial, so I pampered myself a little bit.
Nice.
We grabbed breakfast in the morning at this local spot called Perch. It opened up about 4 or 5 months ago now, and then we went to church. I got my nails done too. It was a lot of pampering, and then we had a couple of drinks and appetizers at this one bar in Sioux Falls, Myrtles, again, fairly new, opened up not that long ago.
Oh,
And then we
okay.
had dinner at one of our favorite spots in town, Chef Lance's. Very, very good food there. And then we walked over to where he proposed to me, almost 3 years ago now, which is crazy to think about that.
Yeah, the time flies, I guess. That's actually
Yeah.
So that's actually really cool. Now, we'll do our picks coming up in the next couple of weeks. I know you're going to be off next week, Christine, but like I said, who are your kind of like your in baseball? Like, who are those teams that you're looking out for? Like, could Seattle perhaps challenge in the AL West? Could with Garrett Cole being hurt, who now is the AL East wide open? What's your big storylines coming up for baseball this year?
Obviously, you got to put the Dodgers up there. I would put the Brewers back in the limelight just because now they have Christian Yelich back, and I think they're looking to make a run for it this time. You can't count the Yankees out. I think the Yankees are going to do another run this year. I like the Padres. They're going to be coming out swinging, I think. Dylan Cease, former White Sox, obviously doing better than the situation that he was in before. They look like they're gonna make a run for it too. And I like Houston. You can't, again, those are one of those teams you can never really count out. But I would say those are the top teams I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I'll see the Padres against the Cubs in a couple of weeks up there on the north side. Hopefully, Dylan Cease will pitch that game, but we'll see what happens there. But as you mentioned, LaKeena, with Garrett Cole being gone for the year for the Yankees, their starting rotation is shook, as the kids would say. I think, now, like I said, me and LaKeena will give our predictions out next week, but Boston, they could be heading for some great things. Of course, they signed Alex Bregman in the all season. They got to straighten that situation out between him and Rafael Devers. And of course, you got Garrett Crochet, the left-hander, another former White Sox player, now heading that starting rotation. So Boston could be due for a big year.
Yeah,
I agree. That's another one I left out.
Yeah, they might. I think Boston. They were right there last year for a wild card spot. They ran out of games, so could that? Yeah, they could definitely, especially with your Cole being out. You don't know what you're gonna get with the Yankees and that pitching staff.
Yeah.
The Mets might be interesting too. Now they got Juan Soto. I think I saw SI cover with him and a few of the other guys. That's gonna be interesting. I think the NL East is gonna be very interesting. I feel like because you've got the Phillies, you've got the Braves. The Mets, of course. So we'll see. It's going to be a gauntlet here. I think the AL East. I think both the East divisions are going to be really interesting this year. I feel like.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, Christine. Before you jet out of here, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @CManika_KXRB on X, otherwise known as Twitter.
All right, Christine, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're gonna have a busy next couple of weeks, so we'll see you in about a couple of weeks. So so enjoy. Well, try to enjoy your downtime as much as you can. I know you got a Skyforce game coming up, so enjoy that game, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Tell Chris and everybody we said hi, and stay safe, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right, sounds good, guys. See you later. Thank you.
All right, Christine, take care.
Bye.
All right.
Okay. All right. Yay. All right. There was our girl Christine Manika from KXRB. I guess we'll find something to talk about, Sid, because we got a whole potpourri of stuff to talk about. We'll talk sports media news. We'll talk some sports media news. We'll talk a little bit more NFL. If Aaron Rodgers does sign with the Steelers, we'll keep you guys updated. We'll also give you a tournament update as well. Some of these games are getting a little close, maybe so close for too close for some folks. On the women's side, we'll give you some scores. Even on the
another bracket buster.
Well, we'll also go do some scores for the women as well. I know. I can picture our girl Kylie Mills saying, guys, do the women. Don't worry, we will, Kylie. Don't worry. We'll have all that and more coming next to LaKeena, McGee, Sidney, Second City Sports, and Sports of Chicago, potpourri of stuff as we wrap up coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Cam again on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So, if you have any questions or comments for us for our potpourri segment, I think LaKeena just gave us a new title for our last segment of our shows. You can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Alex Trebek, God rest his soul, would have been proud of that. Jeopardy, of course. Of course, Jeopardy, of course, one of the categories is, occasionally they would have like sports potpourri. So I think Ken Jay he still does that for that Jeopardy. But yeah, it's kind of what we're doing, kind of like a little bit of thing here. Make it a little bit, fancier than rapid fire, I guess. Potpourri, I guess. There you go. Sense, I don't know about sense, but we'll figure that out. But
we're building a plane while we find it.
Yeah, exactly. So the tournament update here in Raleigh. We got Baylor up 75-72 with a 0.2 left. The last couple of seconds have been a little bit weird. I think one of Mississippi State's one of their guys just shot an air ball as another kind of an air ball there to finish out the game. So Baylor hangs on 75-72. Of course, they will face the winner of the Mount St. Mary's Duquesne coming up, which will be about 30 minutes from now after this one. And then you got in Cleveland, you got Alabama and Robert Morris. Robert Morris actually led for like about a minute, but looks like maybe under 4 minutes left. Looks like maybe Alabama will hang on. We'll see what happens there. Now, Iowa State pulling away from Lipscomb as they start early in the second half, and and a little back and forth matchup right now between Memphis and Colorado, 29-28 there, as they're in the under 4 minute timeout there. So some interesting scores so far, Sid, in these first slate of games.
Yeah, we had a good day yesterday in the tournament, and hopefully we'll have a great day, even better day in day 2 of the men's NCAA basketball tournament. Scores surpassed a lot from the women's side, from the ladies in the Brigham bracket. Indiana leads Utah 44-39, late stages to go in the third quarter. In the other side of the Brigham first round matchup, Christine will be proud of this. Notre Dame leads Stephen F. Austin 35-18. And of course, in the Spokane region, number 5 Kansas State, they lead Fairfield 11-2 there in the first quarter. The Notre Dame score is just midway through the second quarter. Of course, a couple of finals to pass along from earlier today. Kentucky in the Spokane region, they beat Liberty by 179-78. and in the first part of the Birmingham, I should say. I said Brigham. Excuse my French. In the Birmingham region, I can't read today. In the Birmingham region, number 6 Michigan gets by number 11 Iowa State 80-74.
Yeah, I think going back to Notre Dame State, I think Hannah Hildog already has like 15 points for Notre Dame in that game. So the games are on the ESPN Family Networks, the women's games. So ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPNU, ESPN Plus. So you'll be able to find your team there. So you'll have access to all the games on the women's side. Like I said, a couple of ABC games we talked about on Sunday. The USC game and the UConn game will be coming up tomorrow. So like I said, a very smart program decision from ABC there. So it should be a good catch up a weekend now. The NFL, go back to NFL for a second. Brandon Cooks, of course, look, who says you can't go home again? He's going back to New Orleans on a 2-year deal. It is previous 3 seasons with the Saints. He was their first round pick back in 2014. He started 31 games. He caught 215 passes, 2,861 yards and 20 TDs for them in his 3 seasons there. So now he goes back to New Orleans on a new deal.
Well, during his first few years of his career, he was playing with Drew Brees, and now you're playing with Derek Carr. We'll see how much that Derek Carr has left for the New Orleans Saints. Of course, his play in the Saints uniform has been up and down. So Brandon Cooks, he's getting older. He's a veteran receiver that can provide you with those key receptions. So New Orleans, they're in win now mode. I know they missed the playoffs the last couple of years, and we'll see if this move pans out for Derek Carr in the office. But for the Saints, you would figure they'll draft their next quarterback with one of their first-round picks, if not later on in the draft. Also, too, they desperately need help on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about for the last couple of years. Okay, you still have Cam Jordan there. Their secondary, which is inexperienced, but inexperienced at some parts. But they need to shore up their defense. But after they get hopefully a franchise quarterback.
I'll be just see how that works out there in the Big East. Now going back to college hoops on the coaching side for a second, it looks like Chris Collins and Northwestern are discussing a new contract. According to ESPN Jeff Borzello, they're putting together a new contract where he'll get a substantial raise and be provided more resources for his staff and the program itself. Of course, he and of course also ESPN's Pete Thamel had the details there. That of course, this all stemmed from the fact that Jordan Cornette from NBC Sports, started something that Villanova might be sniffing around Collins. Of course, his dad, Doug, of course, played for and coached for the 76ers for a little bit. So that's kind of how that connection started and that rumor started. But it looks like he's saying put in Northwestern. Hopefully he'll get the resources that he needs. Because with NILs, that's part of the resources for that. Because I don't know if they're gonna loosen the requirements academically, but they can definitely make it a little bit more enticing for guys to want to go there.
No, isn't their motto, we're Chicago's Big Ten team, even though they play their games in Evanston. Of course, they use the Chicago market as a selling pitch. So, like you said, Chris Collins, he deserves the extension. I know they had a tough year this year due to all the injuries, but to be honest, LaKeena, Chris Collins has made Northwestern more competitive than we've seen over the last decades, to be honest with you. Let's be real. The kind of players that Chris Collins has had and still has in his program, they play hard for him, and they are very competitive. So, and this is the best era of Northwestern basketball. I don't know how many years. Maybe, and no disrespect when I say this, I think the anniversary of his death was last year with a Ricky Birdsong. And Northwestern was a nothing during those days. So Chris Collins, once again, hope he gets that extension. Hopefully that school will back him up with more resources. They are in the Big Ten, a Power 5 conference, so no outside of academic requirements, no more excuses.
We'll see if he gets the resource, and then they'll give it to him. So they'll open the checkbook for him. We'll see what happens there. Now, good news for all you Golden State fans. Steph Curry, of course, we talked about it earlier. He injured his knee, but it's just contusion. They did X-rays and the MRI. There's no structural damage. He does have a contusion, so he is day-to-day. So that's the best news if you're a Warriors fan. So that's a pelvic contusion. So I'm sure it's probably more painful than anything else. But nothing's or anything like that. So it's just a bruise. I think he said it on. I think he has said that it's just a very bruise. So I'm sure I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow, but that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But you think he avoids serious injuries, so that's a good thing if you're if you're the Warriors.
Yeah, that was an ugly fall last night. That could have been a whole lot worse. Thank goodness he's okay. As I said before, and I'll say it again: should the Warriors end up I think it will be something that they ended up as a fifth seed, but should they end up a 6th or 7th seed? If you're Memphis, if you're Houston, if you're the Lakers, or to a lesser extent Denver, you do not want to play the Warriors if they're fully healthy in the first round. It's going to be a tough task for you. And that series could go 6 or the full 7.
I mean, that's going to be really going to be interesting to see what happens in that matchup. Now, as far as the East is concerned, like I said, the Bulls they have the 9th seed, so yeah, they're their goal. They're going to be going to the playoffs. They're 2 games back of the 8th seed with Orlando. Sorry, folks.
They could be hosting a home playoff game like they did a year ago against Atlanta in the play-in tournament. Who would have thought that?
9. Well, look, I mean, Miami's lost 9 in a row. Toronto, I don't think they want to go to the playoffs. Philadelphia is basically they're in tank mode too. Brooklyn
they shut it down with Paul George.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so they shut him down for the year.
Now you go do his podcast again.
Yeah. So there you go. So more time now. They do have more free time to do that now. And then, of course, Brooklyn, they're not going anywhere. So sorry, Bulls fans. Sorry, Matt. Love you, Matt. But we love you, Matt. But they got to buy more hats for him to throw. I think. But
you know what, LaKeena? Shout out to our guy Matt Peck. Hopefully we can have him on next month to preview the NBA playoffs. Heaven forbid the Bulls win that play-in game. We'll have to preview a play-in game for the Bulls. And we should ask Matt to gather up all his hats in his house.
Just
bring them to our show, start throwing them out one by one.
just throw him all his hats. Just throw him his hats all over across where he's doing it. He's gonna be doing it at. Yeah, just throw them out. Just throw them out. Just do the whole hour match. Just throw the hats all over the place. That'll be hilarious. That'll be good theater. Good theater.
Yeah, forget about throwing your hats when your favorite player scores 3 goals in a hockey game. Oh, Matt Pat, just start chucking them. Not a lights house, just start chucking them.
Nothing. I love it. All right, so well, I mean, Atlanta, they're like, could they? No, they're 3.5 back from Atlanta. I know they won a couple of days ago, but yeah, that Bulls could get to 7th seed. Dare I say? I don't know. Look, we see weirder things happen. So what? Why not? Get to the 7th seed. Get to the 7th seed. Sure, why not?
Here's the thing, LaKeena. First of all, shout out to Jeff Agrest, the sports deputy editor over there at the Sun-Times. I know they let a lot of people go over the last few days, but he had the tweet last night, and this was true. We said on our show on Monday that the game would have been blacked out with the Bulls and the Kings. It was actually shown live on NBA TV last night. So shout out to NBA TV for doing that. So that tweet was true. And so, but going back to the Bulls, this was a year you're supposed to tank your games, even though it's on free TV. No one gives a damn about their antenna. Half of them not using it. As of this live broadcast, you still have issues with Xfinity Comcast, which is the largest cable satellite provider in the market, in the Chicago, Northwest Indiana market. You're still not on there yet. And you're about to go to the playoffs and half the city can't see your games. What else can go right with this team?
Only the Bulls. What's he saying? Only the Bulls.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not gonna say it, but I'll spare you guys. Yeah. Only the Bulls, I guess, can now. Just God, I mean, I can't. Let's go to the Western Conference for a second, because at least it's after OKC, of course, they pretty much clinched everything, the number 1 seed and all that. Now it's a little bit crowded at the in the middle part. I mean, you got Houston, Denver. I know they've been a little bit up and down lately. Houston's won 8 in a row. The Lakers, we'll see if Luka plays against the Bulls tomorrow, but excuse me, Memphis is right there. Golden State, they're right there, but the Clippers are only a game and a half back, as well as Minnesota. So I mean, I know Sacramento. I know even though they lost to the Bulls, they're still right there. But Phoenix, I mean, especially since it looks like Dallas is going to tank pretty much for the most part. I mean, it's really going to be a jockey for position in that Western Conference.
Yeah, the Clippers have finally turned it on. Of course, Kawhi Leonard starting to gain more confidence with the minutes that he's been playing over the last few weeks. As we told you on this show, the more minutes he gets, the Clippers will become a better team. You take that pressure off of James Harden. Of course, Norman Powell, who should have been an all-star in my opinion, has had a great year, especially shooting the ball from three-point range. Phoenix, this is their last guess to make it to the play-in tournament. Looks like they'll make it by default. And you saw what they did against Chicago the other night. Sacramento, they've been on a losing streak here lately. I believe losing 6 out of their last 8, I believe, if my math is correct. And so they're still in the mix. I like the way the Portland Trail Blazers have played. Give Chauncey Billups the Hall of Fame player. Give the head coach Chauncey Billups credit for that. Yes, Shaq, I said Chauncey Billups coaching Portland, not Detroit. But give Portland credit. I think they'll come up short making the play-in tournament, but they could be set up to do good things for next year. Now, going back to the Eastern Conference, I know Detroit's been on a little bit of a struggle here. They sit at number 6 right now. They'll take on the New York Knicks in that first round. I think the Knicks, should they get Jalen Brunson back, which I think they will toward the end of the regular season, that could be a very interesting first round matchup. You know, Detroit's very tough inside, led by Isaiah Stewart. Of course, you got your guy Cade Cunningham, who beat the Miami Heat earlier this week with a 3-pointer at the buzzer. Of course, Indiana's been doing very well. As I told you on our show during the All-Star break, watch out for them. I'm still not saying they're going back to the Eastern Conference Finals, no, but they could provide a very tough out in the playoffs. So right now, if the playoffs will start today, it'll be Indiana and Milwaukee for the second year in a row.
Going to be interesting in the Eastern Conference because I think that's where a lot of the battles are. I mean, the Knicks are the 3rd seed right now, but could Indiana? They've won 3 in a row. Could Indiana sneak in there and perhaps make it that 3 seed? The Bucks, they've turned it on lately. They're right behind them. And Detroit, you mentioned Detroit. I mean, that 3 through 6 is going to be interesting. With the positioning and such. I think it's going to be those 4 teams. I think they're going to be playing for those 3 through 6. It could make a big difference on whether or not you host a playoff series. So these last 2 weeks are critical for that part of the West, for the East, I should say.
Yeah, because Cleveland got number 1 wrapped up. Boston slated in number 2. Excuse me. As I said about a week or 2 ago, Boston, they really don't need home court throughout the playoffs. They'll get it. Assuming they'll reach the Eastern Conference Finals to play Cleveland. Of course, Cleveland would get the home court advantage there. But Boston, as we've seen before, we saw it last year, they could win a game or 2 on the road. So they're battle tested. So Boston, we got home court against Boston if you're Cleveland. Yes, Cleveland, you're a better team, but Boston's coming there and steal a game or 2 off your home court. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to go to the NBA Finals. So that's going to be interesting there. Going back to the West, as you mentioned with Houston, they caught fire here lately. Now they're the number 2 seed. Golden State is at number 6. If they face Denver, it's going to be trouble. But if you're the Lakers, you want to grab that second seed. I don't know if Houston's going to hold on to it. So it's going to be between those 3 teams, Houston, Denver, and the Lakers for that number 2 seed, especially when LeBron James comes back next week because, he likes to put on a show in Chicago at the UC. So as soon as they get LeBron James back by the terms of the Lakers, I think they'll take off again. Memphis, as you mentioned, at number 5, they slipped here, but I know John Morant has been in and out of the lineup here lately. Even though they're a better defensive team without him in that lineup, Memphis is still a tough out. You mentioned Golden State number 6. The Clippers, Minnesota, Sacramento, and Phoenix finish out the 7 through 10 spots. I think who's going to come out of those the 7-10 spots as of right now, I'll put money on the Clippers, and then I'll put money on the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think the Timberwolves,
provided that they stay healthy.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key here. They got to keep Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards healthy. And Houston, they got a tough schedule. I think they got to play the Lakers twice. I think they got to play Denver. I think they play Denver on Sunday, and they play Phoenix and OKC. Excuse me. So that it's going to be hard for them to try to hang on to that 2 spot. I'm talking about Houston. So I know they've won 8 in a row, but they're kind of playing I don't want to say the soft part of the schedule, but they kind of are. That's why they were able to win 8 in a row. So I think, look, I think there could be a lot of movement there that I would say from that 5 through 8 spot. So could be interesting there. Even like the 2 through 3 spot. I mean, I think look, it's all going to depend on how everyone finishes. If Jokic can stay healthy, and if Houston, and that tough schedule they got coming up, these last 2.5 weeks of the season. Memphis, I mean, give them credit for hanging on. I know they had a tough week this week, losing both their games, but it's going to get interesting to see like how these teams are fair. I mean, look, OKC, will they start sitting their guys? Well, now they've pushed everything. So that's going to be another thing that's going to be.
We kind of brought that up on our show last Monday. So we'll see what happens since they have everything wrapped up. And of course, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for those of you going at home, he's going for the MVP. I know he's saying all the right things. It's about the team and whatnot. And you like to hear that from your star, but you want deep down, you want to say the MVP over Jokic.
Of course. I'm sure he wants that. He wants an MVP. Well, and I think a lot of people are going to want to find a reason to not to vote for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Of course. Let's see what else. NBA wise, I mean, like I said, Portland. I think Portland plays some of these teams, so Portland could have a say on who gets the seeding. So give Chauncey Billups and his guys credit for for hanging in there. And look, they're not going to be able to get to that play-in spot. They definitely will give teams fits who want to try to get into the playoffs. So they could. I would say don't circle it as a win. I mean, look, they could be up because coming squad to look out for next year.
Yeah, they could be the Houston Rockets are this year. So we'll see what happens with that team on the Pacific Northwest. And listen, this is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena here with you on this Friday afternoon. We still have some time left. I want to go back to baseball. Of course, your Cubs got swept by the Dodgers in those 2 games. And do you like MLB opening day having a separate opening day a week prior to everybody else opening? Because the Dodgers went through this last year. They're going through it again this year. The Padres and this year with the Cubs who played the Dodgers this year, they still had to go back and finish out their spring training schedule. I get it. It's a global game. There's money to be made over there. I get it. But even though the regulars probably won't play the rest of their spring training schedules, maybe except for maybe 1 or 2 players to get some time in, why should those teams, including the Dodgers, have to finish out their spring training schedule? It's stupid.
I mean, the whole thing just seems a little bit silly. I mean, it's kind of like I remember in the middle of the season last year, the Cubs went to London to play those London series games. I remember Cody Bellinger said that kind of threw off their rhythm, and of course, we just saw what happened after that. So now, again, in this case, it's the beginning of the season, so maybe it won't affect them. Look, I think it didn't affect the Dodgers. Obviously, we'll see how it affects the Cubs. So but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens here. But yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a deterrent too much. I mean, look, the fact that the Dodgers were able to win both those 2 games without no bets. I know he's been battling illness. Hopefully he's okay. And Freddie Freeman, of course, he was a late scratch for both those games. So they were able to win both of them, and the Cubs were right there with both. It wasn't like they got blown out both games. I mean, they were right there, especially that first game. Shota was really good. In that first game. So, I think I'm not freaking out about the Cubs just yet. I mean, they're 0-2. Okay, fine. But yeah, the whole thing just seems a little bit silly for MLB. And yeah, it's kind of like backwards thinking. I mean, MLB will have even bigger problems, especially if there is a strike or a lockout, I should say, and then, after the end of next season. But yeah, they've got bigger problems for them. But I get it. I mean, look, that club where they played in Tokyo. I know Shohei. I know he played in that arena. So has Yamamoto and Shota. So there was a nice little homecoming for them. But yeah, I mean, I'm not freaking out about it just yet. I mean, look, if they start like 0-9 or something like that, then I'll freak out. But right now, I mean, you had to go all the way across the Pacific, and then you had to come back. It's just the whole thing just seems kind of silly to me.
I would think if you're, I don't know if MLB will do this next year. They should, but if you're gonna have teams open up overseas, open up the same week as everybody else, the Monday or Tuesday game, or Tuesday and Wednesday of that same week. Have those 2 teams open up. Then you have for that Thursday and Friday, have everybody else open, and that would make sense. But like you said, baseball will potentially have bigger problems, and I know we'll probably get to this more on our show on Monday, but there's a couple of networks that are interested in the old ESPN package, and like I said, we'll do a deeper dive into that on our show coming up on Monday. But I want to get to a funny moment that went viral immediately during the second Cubs Dodgers game. Max Muncy was reaching for a foul ball. Former NFL quarterback and his son works as a clubhouse attendant. Just to give you a side note, Rodney P, former NFL quarterback and current LA radio sports host on the Dodgers flagship station, AM 570 LA Sports. That's all the free advertising they get. But he was sitting behind the camera rail on the third base side next to his lovely wife, Miss Holly Robinson Pete. Had a mitt in his hand. Reached out, not into the field of play, but he reached out far enough where the ball landed in his glove. He looked at him like, "Yeah, I got your ball here, son. Take that."
Look, he played baseball. People forget he played baseball for a while. And I think he did get a scholarship to USC to play baseball before he ended up go switch sticking with football. But look, I mean, we know that he and Holly. I know Holly. She's a huge sports fan, so I think they are season ticket holders for the Dodgers. So. Yeah, and like I said, their son. I think their second youngest son. I think. Their second.
RJ.
Son, yeah, RJ. Yeah,
I think
second,
RJ.
Yeah, I think that's his name. Works as a club attendant. I think he's been doing it for years now. So I know it was a great experience for him. I think he has autism. So I think he, the Dodgers were so welcoming to them. It has been for years. He does a great job by all accounts. I know Dave Roberts. I think they rave about him a lot. So but yeah, I think look, I think he looked like he look how he looked at Monty's like, what the hell is this guy doing? So he saw Monty's face after he caught that after Rodney gave him the look. Max was like, "What, dude? Get out of here!" So it was hilarious. But you guys see, go back and see. I'm sure it's been seen like millions of times. But it was it was fun. Probably one of the funnier moments from that Tokyo series.
Yeah, from what I've heard, that Rodney said that he was given the glove by the ballpark attendants because of the foul ball situations over there in Tokyo. Of course, in this country, United States, of course, down at third base and first base lines, there's nettings up there. It's been up there since 2018, I believe. So. So that's how MLB combated that after a couple of infants got hit tragically by a foul ball for several years ago. So that was MLB's response to that. But Rodney P said he was given a glove. He didn't bring it into the stadium. He didn't say he reached out far enough. The ball just landed in his glove. Said, "Yeah, take that."
I know. It's
going to be interesting to see what he says on his radio show on Monday.
Oh yeah. Looking forward to that one. Yeah, he's gonna have stories to tell. He's gonna have stories to tell from because I think. I think they are back from that Tokyo trip. I know Holly posts a lot on social media about their adventures there. But yeah, it's gonna be hilarious. The stories that he'll tell on the show. I can't wait for that one now. I wish we had a breaking news sounder because nicely done. The old ABC sounder, their news sounder from back in the day, of course, all the 80s kids probably recognize that one. But according to Jeff Agris, speaking of, Dan Bursey is out at the score after the social media flare up.
Whoa!
Yeah, he just posted Jeff did about 5 minutes ago, and
this is live, folks. This is live.
Yeah, I'll try to read through the article real quick for you guys. But Mitch Rose made the announcement on air right before, I think during their crosstalk. So after a little dust up. So they're not providing any information. It's behind a paywall. But we'll talk more about this on Monday. But Dan Bernstein now out at the score.
Well, I know Bernstein has been a controversial figure during his time at the score for almost 30 years. Because I remember him. He took over from Mike Greenberg after Mike Greenberg went to ESPN. Of course, Dan Bernstein followed the Bears during the day. Once the administration, of course, he hosted the longest show on the score with him and Terry Boris. After they bumped down Dan McNeil to middays with Dan Jenkins at the time in the late 90s, going into the early 2000s before McNeil left for ESPN 1000. But it was Bernstein and, of course, Boris for a long time. Of course, he had Jason Goff as a co-host. And he did shows. I remember he was doing those Sunday morning shows
Yep.
in place of Jesse Rogers back in the day during
Yeah.
that time. So when he first started, so he had and of course he did a show with Connor McKnight. Now
Mhm.
Connor McKnight's with CHSN as a White Sox insider. Of
Yep.
course, he was doing the show recently with Marshall Harris. I know you can take the comments from what it's worth on
Mhm.
on social media, but of course it's been Layla and Marshall Harris during the show this week. Of course, Layla is the fill-in host, so she does the Tuesday and Wednesday shows. But I don't like I said, we'll probably get more deep into it on Monday, but I
Yeah.
don't mind Layla and Marshall being a permanent show. I really don't.
Right? Why not? Why not? I mean,
Exactly.
they worked together down when they were both in Texas. I know Marshall was in Texas for a little bit, and I know, of course, Layla's from there. But yeah, why not? I mean, they
Yeah.
sound great. Look, if you heard their podcast, they sound great together. They have nice rapport. And look, it's about time that a female gets a permanent spot at one of these stations on a weekday
Yeah.
basis. Not
On a weekday basis, yeah.
not with this standing our girl Deion Miller, and of course Peggy is who would have their own show.
Mhm.
Peggy and Deion but that's during the weekend. So I'm talking about on the
Mhm.
weekdays aspect of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
why not? Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So as you mentioned, Dan Bernstein out as a score. I think he had another incident. I can't remember that girl's name. She used to work at the old CSN, which became
Oh,
NBC
I know who
Sports
you're
Chicago.
oh yeah,
Uh,
I know who you're talking about. I forgot her
Yeah,
name though. Crap.
he made a comment about her on social media. This is about 10
Yeah.
years ago now. I forgot her name. I'm sure we'll bring it up again on Monday. But
Right.
Bernstein had his share of instances unfortunately, in social media throughout his time on the air and, of course, on social media. But lesson to all of us, but lesson to everybody in the industry, because Bernstein has more, people in his position have more to
Right.
lose
Yeah.
than we do. I'm not saying we don't have anything to lose because we do, but in terms of Bernstein and people that have been doing it longer than us, you have more to lose because you're a public figure. You represent the
Mhm.
company. You represent the station. To go whether you're, someone said this a while ago. You cannot tell somebody's comments by context on social media or through text.
Yep.
You got to see them
Mhm.
face to face. Let's just say I sent you a text, LaKeena. I can mean it. It could mean one thing, but if you read it, you could turn it to another. Unless you ask
Yeah.
me, you assume
vice
the
versa.
worst or the best. You don't know unless you talk to them face to
Right.
face, and you just gotta be careful out there in social media. When you press send, that's it.
And you got to pick your battles on social media too. I mean, look, if
Yeah.
someone says something about you that you don't like, I mean, look, nice, subtle banter is one thing, but if you're gonna call someone a name or a derogatory name, especially, look, you just gotta leave it alone. So, look, it's nothing wrong with having banter back and forth about a sport, or hot takes or whatever, but the little things like that will get you going. And unfortunately, he's had too many. I'm talking about Burns. He has had too many of those instances.
Mhm.
So, and now this latest one, I think, now he's out.
Yeah, this I just got this text just a moment ago. This tweet came in from John Greenberg of the Athletic Chicago, quote tweeting Jeff Agris's breaking news tweet. This stinks, and he continues to talk about John Greenberg. It was crazy reaction by Dan, extremely dumb and weird, but to fire a guy with that long career over that doesn't sit right. But as we mentioned, Dan Bernstein has had a history of this, so this isn't his first rodeo.
Yeah, I think you can only do so much. So
Yeah.
I love John Greenberg too. He's hilarious. He's funny. He's a great follow on Twitter, John_Greenberg. John, no H though, folks. So make sure you
Exactly.
leave that one. But yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying, but this isn't his first time. So unfortunately, he's had too many of these, and I think Rosen got sick of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's might have been what it was. And it was becoming a distraction on the network. I'm sure they get texts about it. I'm sure the producers get texts about it. I'm sure are some of our people who work there, they get texts about it or tweets about it constantly. So I think they got sick of it too, having to defend him. So yeah, sometimes you gotta know when enough is enough. I get what he's saying, but I know even our buddy Herb Lawrence even said that it's a shame doing it on a Friday, but you gotta pick your battles, folks.
Yeah. And like I said, both of us have known Mitch personally. I met him a couple of times. He's a great stand-up guy. And you got to look at the bottom line. And assuming that Bernstein would have resumed his duties on Monday, would he would have addressed it on the air? We'll never know because he's not there anymore. But like you said, things like that distractions become bigger than the brand. You got to do something to shut that down. So, and this was the scorer's response.
Trust me, all I can say is what happened with Margie and Greco. Just saying.
Yeah. Now, on that note.
Yeah. Well, let's end on a happier note with some of these scores. Of course, Alabama finished off Robert Morris in the East region, 90-81. Iowa State on the South region, Iowa State looks like they're going to finish off Lipscomb. They're under 7 minutes left there in that game, 66-38. Halftime in the West region, the first round game, we got Memphis 36 over Colorado State, and Duke and Mount St. Mary's is about to tip off in about any minute now. So you can catch that game on CBS in Raleigh. So after we're done, you guys can switch over to that game and all the other games that are coming up and are coming up soon. So let's end on a happier note, as I always say.
All right. And on that note, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Leave them laughing, as my mom always says. You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
Don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And we also want to thank our girl, Christine Manika for KXRB for joining us.
Yes.
So we always love having her on, and we'll see her in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, always fun to have her on. And can't wait to have her on again in a couple of weeks.
In a programming now, to all you Chicago White Sox fans, we'll have a very special guest previewing the 2025 Southside Hitmen coming up on our show on Monday.
All right, you gotta tune in to find out who it is, guys. So we're not gonna leave that little teaser for you. But enjoy the men's and women's tournaments. It should be a lot of fun. We may see some upsets or maybe some buzzer beaters. We'll see about that. Of course, finishing up spring training in baseball. We'll see if we have some NFL news. Rodgers is going to sign with Pittsburgh. We'll find out about that and so much more. So enjoy all the great stuff coming up this weekend. For Sid, I'm LaKeena. Stay safe out there, folks. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Holla!